This podcast is brought to you by our supporters at Patreon. Visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s and join us at the $5 level where you can get 25 bonus episodes of this show, 35 and a half hours of bonus content. Movies like Die Hard, She's All That, The Lost Boys, Dirty Dancing, Footloose, Top Gun, Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Halloween, Tremors, Lethal Weapon, multiple instances of The Golden Girls, E.T., and The Thing. All of that is available instantly with your own custom RSS feed that you can listen to on your favorite podcast app, including Spotify. Visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s to find out how you can get more of your favorite podcast. That's this one, we hope. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am one half of the Little Monster Powers, Trip Lano, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner, the one kidnapped by monsters and sent to the Netherrealm, the Macho Mandrew.
Andrew Lano. I'm glad you didn't say the Corey the Corey Matthews to your whatever his name is in The Wonder Years, because apparently he's not a good person.
Oh, really?
He got fired from the Wonder Years reboot for being a bad person, apparently.
Wait. Fred Savage got fired from the Wonder Years reboot?
Yes.
Or okay, and what's the other one?
Ben.
Matthew? Ben Savage.
Well, he's Corey Matthews from Boy Meets World.
Corey Matthews is Ben Savage.
Yes.
And you're saying Fred Savage is the bad
Yes.
one. Interesting. So was he acting on it or voicing over, or what was he doing?
He was like a producer, I think, because I think the Wonder Years reboot is about a black family in the time period. Yes. So I think he was just executive producing because his bread and butter. And like looking at his Wikipedia, there's been a few times throughout his career that people have been like, "You're not a good person," and children with immense power and wealth get what they want.
He had become like a pretty big TV director. He directed a lot of It's Always Sunny. Like a lot of It's Always Sunny.
Oh, I knew he had done a directing. I didn't know he directed that.
Yeah. I mean other things as well, but I feel like it wouldn't surprise me if you were like in the double digit, like even high double digits of episodes of Sunny. I feel like I haven't watched Sunny in many years, but there were years I watched where I feel like he directed almost a whole season's worth.
Could be. But yeah, he as far as I know, it wasn't anything like sexual misconduct.
Not a Me Too, just like you kind of.
But like it's the what was that producer who was a piece of shit?
Joss Whedon.
I mean, yes, but no, the one who like broke his assistant's hand on a laptop or something.
I don't know the story you're telling. That's
his
crazy.
Assistants would hide soup around the office because he was such a monster. He'd be like, "I need soup now."
But no, it was a specific kind of.
Yeah, obviously they were deciding like cans of Campbell's.
No, but it was like they would order a lot of soup from this place he liked, and so because he would pick between like 3 different soups, and then if they were out of it, they would go heat up an old one and like bring it to him. Is it Ratner? I don't want to.
Rudnick, Seth Rudnick,
because
I think.
I don't know that name. That doesn't mean anything to me, but that could be
correct.
I have no idea. I know the story you're telling. I just don't know the person.
I think it's Seth Rudnick. Seth, whatever, him. It was more like that level and his response was apparently like, I don't think this is true, but I'm going to be, taking stock of how I hold myself in professional situations. And it's like, well, those statements can't both be true, sweetheart. I hate to break it to you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, maybe he was truthful and maybe he did evaluate his behavior. It's not impossible for people to change.
Are you looking up Seth?
Maybe he was. I'm Googling producer soup assistants, and that didn't.
Add Seth. I swear it's a Seth.
Seth Rudnick is just not a name I know.
Scott, maybe? Scott Rudin?
Scott Rudin, I feel like, is a name I do know. I'm going to try Scott, and then if it is not Scott, I am not going to waste podcast time with Trip Google's things that Trip and Andrew half remember. All right, Vulture article, Scott Rudin as told by his assistant. So this must be it. So,
Rudin is an ironic nickname, ironic last name for him.
Yeah, because it seems like he was rude in general.
I'm glad you remembered the soup story, because I was like, if you don't remember the laptop, and then I say the soup story, this is going to sound like I'm a psychopath.
Anyway, as you can tell by this intro that has nothing to do with the film, I'm going to quote the great Roger Ebert. I didn't enjoy myself for 1 second. We watched Little Monsters, and you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your fucking terrible movie. It's your fucking terrible movie.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott!
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah!
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So this is a movie that I feel like I rented maybe like 30 times. It's not impossible.
Which is wild that I have zero memory of it.
It might have been that you were like still too little. Like, you know, it's possible I was renting this in ages like 7 to 8. And that's like, you just weren't, you know, doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, you're still barely out of the potato phase. I texted mom, like, do you remember this movie? And she said, yes. And I said, do we rent it a lot? And she was like, I don't think we owned it, but there was, it didn't.
She didn't have any feelings, apparently.
She didn't fire off like I hated that fucking movie, which is what I would have expected, honestly.
Yeah.
So maybe when she hears this episode, she'll tell us and we can update. But
I mean, it could have been one of the rare instances of TV babysitter in our house.
Yeah, it could have. This we're doing a month of imaginary friends. It's Imaginary Friends month.
Which we should have done for that imaginary friend teddy bear movie that came out a few months ago.
Well, we're doing it for the Imaginary Friend John Krasinski movie, which I assumed would be the bigger movie.
Oh, maybe. I don't remember. I haven't heard a lot about that one, but
he has a movie called If that I just saw 1 billion advertisements for while I was traveling. So I was like, oh, okay, internationally, If doing quite well.
Okay.
They had like a series of character posters in one subway where it was like we were rolling by and it was just like the purple character, the green character, you know, whatever. I got
with whatever celebrity they're roasted. Like, Kristen Wiig is the purple one.
Yeah, exactly. And this movie is being very heavily advertised as like from the mind of John Krasinski. And I'm just like, guys, he had like one pretty good horror movie, a mediocre sequel, and then they're franchising it because, like, obviously, and then he did a quarantine news show with the groundbreaking concept of
happy things,
good news only. Yeah, they sold for like a preposterous amount of money, and I just remember being like, hey, ding dongs, you don't have to pay John Krasinski for the idea of a news show that's just uplifting positive stories. Like, he did not come up with that concept.
Also, Drew Barrymore is just doing that now.
Well, it's just like, I squeaked like Bobby Brady just, you know, there's nothing wrong with being like, oh, we want John Krasinski, we like that show you're doing on YouTube. We would like it if you did it for us for money, but he didn't want to do that. So they sold the concept, and it's just like the dumbest. Like, you don't need to buy the concept.
That must have died in transit. Like there's no way they kept splashing water across that idea as they transported it from John Krasinski to whatever studio, and it died on arrival.
Right. But yeah, I just was very delighted. Like, from the mind of John Krasinski, and it's just like, I don't know. I feel like you have to have like 3. Like, if you
but also that implies to me the mind of John Krasinski is A Quiet Place. That is the thing he did that we all know.
Right.
Like, that is his baby.
Right.
So, is this a scary thing? No, it's not.
You need to have 3 really good, interesting, unique ideas before you get a From the Mind. If you did a From the Mind of M. Night Shyamalan, I'll give that to you.
Yeah.
You know?
But, if this was a horror movie,
No.
I would let that slide.
Yeah.
If it was in the same genre, oeuvre, whatever, I'll let it slide. But like you,
it's like So I got absolutely crushed on Reddit for being like, I don't know, no one knows what the hell you're talking about. But there was a show called something like something's Imaginary Home for.
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Sure. So
it was on Cartoon Network. I liked it a lot.
So I was like, people were like, this is just Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. And I was like, what are you even talking about? And it was like, oh, it was a Cartoon Network show that ran from these years to these years. And I was like, that's not like the biggest cultural touchstone. And then, of course, everybody was like, how dare you not respect the Foster's Home for Imaginary Children or whatever it's called.
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. It's not that complicated of a title.
It's a lot of words. And I just was like, I'd never even heard of this. Like, what are you talking about?
It was really cool, actually, because it was obviously imaginary friends, so they had a lot of license to do whatever they wanted, and like everyone had these weird looks. Like there was a really tall red one with skinny legs and only one arm, and his name was Wilt, like Wilt Chamberlain.
Okay. Yeah,
and he was like a very gentle giant.
Okay.
It was this big.
Did you have an imaginary friend?
I feel like I did, but I don't remember them. Which is bad. Which is bad if you're using the lore of "Don't Look Under the Bed," the Disney Channel original movie, which was one of the scariest ones they ever did.
Oh, what was the lore there? If you forgot they killed you?
Yes. So the lore is kind of.
That was the dumbest thing I could think.
So the lore is, if you forget about your imaginary friend, you're like, oh, you're not real. I don't believe in you anymore. They turn into boogeymen.
Ah.
So like this town was it's felt similar. Honestly, if you don't watch Little Monsters, just watch Don't Look Under the Bed instead. It is similar vein. It makes more sense. It's more cohesive. But like this town was being like terrorized by these weird pranks. It was like the pool was filled with jello, and then flowers spelled out weird words on the lawn. Like pranks that were big scale but relatively harmless.
So not that dissimilar from this movie at all.
Yeah. And so there's a the plot twist is that the boogeyman doing it is the main character's former imaginary friend.
Ah, okay.
But like the set was really cool because like when you went under the bed, everything you ever lost under your bed, and it was giant. They're like giant playing cards, giant toy cars, giant teddy bears.
Oh, that's kind of fun, like Toy Story scale.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very similar to this movie, but better because it makes sense and it's cohesive.
Yeah. We'll get into how bad this movie is. Mine was named Francis, and I don't really remember this, but I remember telling Mom at one point that Francis was a monkey, and her being like adamant that wasn't true.
But at the time, she said it's not a monkey, or like
it was like we were talking about, oh, you used to have an imaginary friend named Francis, and I was like, yeah, I remember, and then I was like, he was a monkey, and this was like,
you were as an adult remembering this.
I don't know if I was an adult, but I was like old enough that we all understood that the imaginary friend concept was all, nonsense and hokum. And Mom was like, no, he wasn't. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure Francis was a monkey. And she's like, you literally never once mentioned that Francis was a monkey when you would talk about Francis. And I was just like, maybe that
is strange.
Like a salient point or something. I don't know. But my memory of Francis is this conversation had as a more adult person. I was probably 12. That Francis was a monkey, and Mom was like, no, he wasn't. What are you talking about? Which it's just a funny.
I feel like I had an imaginary friend, but I was more like anthropomorphizing my stuffed animals.
Sure.
Than I was imaginary friends, I feel like.
That could have been the situation with the Francis, frankly.
Yeah, could be.
I mean, I just don't remember. Anyway, so we're doing imaginary friend movies this month. I think our next movie is about an imaginary friend. I've never actually seen it, but I was kind of like,
which one is it again? What's next?
Drop Dead Fred.
Oh, yeah, I think it is.
I think he's imaginary. But anyway, so we're doing we're tying into this movie which I don't know if it's any good, but
I mean, here's the thing.
Certainly.
If Drop Dead Fred sucks and this movie sucks and If sucks, we can call it a tie-in.
Yeah, I mean, our cousins apparently love Drop Dead Fred. Mom told me that when she got the newsletter.
Really? Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they apparently are all loved it as kids. So anyway, we should get into this movie that I, much like Roger Ebert, did not enjoy myself for 1 second. But history of the movie. As I was texting Mom, I feel like I watched this movie 10 or more times. Like, I really feel like I watched the movie, which is crazy because I was such a fraidy cat.
Yeah, this movie's too ugly and not scary enough to do. Like, it doesn't know what it wants to be.
It is set designed and creature designed to be a genuinely scary children's movie, and then it is like, I don't know, we're your best friends actually. Like, the Monsters Inc. is like the perfect thing to think of. It sort of is like a counterbalance to this, where it's like Mike Wazowski and Sully are super cute and cuddly looking, and you could see how
in the scenes in the dark, they're scary.
Yes, yeah. Like, Sully's huge and he's got the big horns and stuff. Mike is like a big one-eyed weirdo. Like, you see why it would be frightening. But ultimately it's like, oh, the monsters are your friends, but they're designed in such a way that when you see them in the daylight, you're like, oh, sure, that's my friend Mike Wazowski. And when you see Maurice in the daylight, you're like, kill him with fire.
Truly, the second he got on the screen, I was like, I hate this.
It's awful.
I don't want to be here.
Truly awful. Yeah. So we start with, we're moving
a
in.
maudlin ass child monologue.
Yes, but we also do like a black and white color shift, and I was like, excuse me, you are not the Wizard of Oz.
You have not earned this.
Yeah. Fred Savage is doing like a voiceover intro, explaining who Maurice.
All my life I wanted to be a monster.
Well, it's interesting because Fred Savage was, as you were talking about earlier, the Wonder Years. Daniel Stern, who plays his father in this, was his voiceover on the Wonder Years.
Yeah, Daniel Stern looking terrifying in this movie, by the way.
He has like such abusive stepdad energy in this movie. He's not a stepdad.
No.
He's their father biologically, I think.
His hair length is the perfect shortness that it's gelled back in an awful, aggressive way.
Yeah. And he's like ranting and raving about, now is it a 1 hour commute each way?
He said a 2 hour commute, which like, why did you move there then?
Well, people fucking do it, man. I have worked with, throughout my whole working adult life, I have worked with people who do commutes that when they explain them to me, I am just completely flabbergasted at. I had an old job I had where I worked in Columbia, Maryland. I shit you not, a woman I worked with commuted 90 minutes each way. And it was like,
why?
She came from Pennsylvania. And I was just like, it's different now in a world where work from home is a thing and remote work kind of changes these variables. But I was just like, there has to be jobs closer to you. I mean, there just has to be.
Or houses closer to the, if you truly love this job and you can't do anything else, move closer to the job then. Invest in that.
I'm always assuming the situations like this are somebody ends up getting their foot in the door at a place that is like very well paying that they couldn't transfer to another place, or their partner or their children have some need to move to a further flung area and they just, deal with it. I do remember reading years ago, the Washington Post had a story about a guy who commuted to DC from like relatively southern Virginia, and anyone who's driven down the East Coast can tell you Virginia is just interminably lengthy. But this guy was doing like a series of carpools and what is called slugging, where you like get in somebody's car, like a prearranged system where you kind of carpool together, but it's always their car sort of situation, like
Lyft, but sort of.
Right, but it was like every single work day, he got in Jerry's car, and that's called slugging. I don't know why. It's a terrible term for it. But this guy was commuting like 2 hours plus each way to go to this job, and it just like the longest commute I've ever had.
There goes all your time to do anything outside of work.
Yeah, my commute from Frederick to Columbia was in perfect conditions 100 minutes a day, and I was like, 50 each way. And I was just like, immediately, I was like, this is torture. I was like, I got to stick it out for 3-4 months so I know I don't want to hate this job, and don't want to leave it. And then once I did, I moved closer, and I ended up in a situation where perfect conditions was about 30 each way, but at least once a week I'd be in brutal traffic where it would be an hour, or to the point where I would like get off and go to Walmart and just walk around the Walmart.
Oh, I've done that.
To get steps in and stuff, where I was just like, I just have to let this dissipate, and I would just do laps around this Walmart because I wanted to be in air conditioning. I was in my work clothes and just like walk around and around and around this place.
Yeah, if your commute's more than 45 minutes, do something about it.
Yeah, if you can handle that, you're way tougher than me. I commute by metro now. I live in Washington D.C., and it's like 40-ish minutes to the office, which I don't have to go to every day. And the days I go in, by the time I get home, I'm like, tired. And it's like I'm sitting on a train reading Reddit. I'm not driving. I'm not dealing with traffic. I have none of those aggravations. And it's just like, by the time I get home, I'm just ready for a nap.
Yeah, I'm fully remote. I go in the office maybe 6 times a year, depending on the situations that arise. But like those days when I have to go in, I hate it.
Yeah, you're either built for it or you're not, and I have learned that I am much better built for being a remote person. Anyway, Fred Savage and Ben Savage are both in this movie. Ben Savage, a much smaller part, because he's got to be, 6? He's pretty
he's a youngin'.
But Fred, we learn, has perhaps the grossest movie character snack I've ever heard of, a peanut butter and onion sandwich.
Well, we don't know that it's peanut butter and onion. First, we just see, like, a half-inch thick sliced onion
Yes.
that he puts on his sandwich. And I was like, that's a lot.
Like the kind of thickness you cut when you're making onion rings.
Truly.
When you make
It's an onion
like
ring.
a good onion ring. Yeah. Like a beefy onion
His
ring.
mom
Like one of those thin boys.
pre-ringed the onions for tomorrow.
Yes.
Like that's what the conversation should have been.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I was a special treat for your father's birthday. I was making the onion rings he loves so much. They're such a pain in the ass. The whole house smells like onions for 2 days, you know.
I've been getting real bad onion cries lately. I don't know if it's what the deal
You gotta
is.
sharpen your knives.
My knives are pretty, like I have the thingy that you run them on.
When's the last time you did it?
I do it like every other time I use them.
It's usually the issue is your knife needs to be sharpened.
I don't know what it is, but it drives me nuts. But first we just see him put onions on a sandwich. I'm like, that's a lot of onions for a sandwich. Like I put a little bit on mine or my salad. Like, sure, that's a lot of onions.
Yeah.
And then
I'm an onion liker. I like an onion on a sandwich.
I do too. I prefer a red onion
big fistful.
on a sandwich situation.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a burger, then a white onion is better. But
I'll do red on a burger. A red onion can have a little bit more sweetness, I think. Although sometimes you get a real hot one and your day is ruined.
yeah. But mom goes, you're the only one in this family who eats peanut butter and onion sandwiches. And it's like, I think you can say you're the only one who eats them. Like, you don't have to say in the family.
You're the only one.
I think you can say you're the only one on the planet.
Yeah, for sure.
I know parents are supposed to lie and be like, you're not different and weird. No, that's weird.
Yeah.
You need to beat that out of him.
That's a weird habit.
Sorry.
Well, the other funny thing
Spare the rod, beat the child, or whatever they say in Matilda.
Spare the rod, spoil the child is the Bible phrase.
No, in Matilda, she says.
I don't know what they say in Matilda.
She says spare. I think she says spare the rod, beat the child is what the Trunchbull says. I think.
Like there are dishes like is it Thai food? What am I? There's an Asian dish that has peanut butter in it that's like a stir fry thing.
Well, there's like
that I'm
peanut
struggling to
noodles
remember.
or like sesame noodles because sesame has a kind of a peanutty taste.
Yeah, things like that. Yeah. Like there, you can like I've had a stir fry that had peanut butter as an ingredient. That's like delicious.
I love
You know,
peanut butter noodles. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But you're cooking
like
everything.
that, a little bit of sriracha mixed in there. Yeah, and it's like
You're not
it's
spreading
part of the
Jif
thing.
on
So,
Wonder
like,
Bread and an onion ring slice of onion.
But I could even see a world in which like you sliced an onion up, you sauteed it a little, and then you threw a blob of peanut butter, a squirt of sriracha in there, mix that all together, and then you ate it as like a side dish for like, I don't know, a pork chop or something, and you were like, oh, these are good. Like this is like a good combo.
Or like plopping it onto the
But
meat.
it's something. Yeah. But there's something about the idea of just like a thick, and it's not just like, we talked about like onion rings. It's a whole lateral cross section of onion. It's not it's not a few of the rings.
It's the whole
all
thing.
of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
rings. You can count the rings and get the age of the onion.
You could.
Sort of situation. And he's just taking big old chompy bites.
But like
It is
normally
maniacal.
when you talk about your child, not you, the royal you, talk about your childhood and you're like, and people go, that's not a thing in other households. Normally it's like, oh, on Christmas Eve, you all put out an orange for Jack Frost or whatever. Like it's something innocuous.
Yeah.
This is not an innocuous thing. This is gonna get you defriended, like abandoned. Like, just do your kid the favor, beat it out of him now.
Our grandmother used to tell us that she would have like a mayonnaise and onion sandwich.
That's fair. That's two savory things. It sounds like a Depression era food, but like
Yeah. And the thing is like I think peanut
or no,
butter
I think it was Miracle Whip. It wasn't. I think it was Miracle Whip,
Okay.
not mayonnaise.
Yeah. I think peanut butter is kind of a switch hitter as far as sweet or savory, depending on the kind of peanut butter you have and all that stuff. But this is like a creamy Jif, which is got a fair
That's
amount
a
of
sweet.
sweetness.
That's a dessert peanut butter.
Yeah. Yeah, so Sam, would you like to examine our peanut butter options this evening?
I was more going. I was thinking.
He's got like a cart.
I was thinking the movie Grease, where she goes, "It says here a dessert wine. It says here a dessert peanut butter."
No, I'm imagining like the peanut butter sommelier like, walks over with the cart, and you have your toast, right? And it's like breakfast time. Like,
No, it's not toast. It would be like a gold spoon, like with the ice cream. So the pure, unadulterated
No,
flavor.
I'm saying, It is. You're choosing the topping for your toast.
Oh, okay.
You get the fancy toast. They bring it on the plate, and then they come over with the peanut butter cart. And so today we have 7 varieties to choose from, ranging from an all natural all the way down to your classic American Jif. And they like walk their way through.
And these are the people that would have the toast caddy.
Yes.
For the multiple slices of toast for one person.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, you don't want to get in soggy. You got to get some air around.
Which I agree. Fair.
Yeah. And then, he's got the little gold spoon, and you can sample. There's 1 gold spoon
for each one, of course. You can't cross-contaminate.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like my ideal.
It would be great. If a place that did 3-star Michelin type food, like some Alinea in Chicago type, like crazy molecular gastronomy, and they're like, dessert is a peanut butter and jelly, and they bring the toast, and there's 7 peanut butters to choose from, and like 12 different jams and or jellies, and then you like chose your own, and they spread it and made it right in front of you. People will talk about that for eternity. They're like, oh, I know this is so silly, but they made a peanut butter and jelly at the end. It was so good. And
or the alternative is it's like those cereal bars and cereal restaurants where like it would be like you would go to Chipotle and you look down through the glass and there's all the 50 different varieties of peanut butter.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. They come to your table with the toaster, and it's a battery operated toaster, and they like put the toast in, and as they're describing your options to make this sandwich, the toast is like toasting right in front of you and you're smelling it.
I'm letting you finish, but I got a one-upsman here.
And then no, go for it.
Tableside peanut butter.
Oh, they make
they bring you. It's like a tableside guac. Sure. They could bring out probably mochayette would be great for this purpose.
Mochayette, exactly what I was.
Do you want roasted? Do you want raw? Do you want honey roasted?
Honey,
These are your peanut
or some pepper flake if you want to go spicy.
Yeah. How much salt do you want to add? Do you want it at the end? And they're just.
Do you want to dust it with some cinnamon?
Mochayetting the hell out of these peanuts. Yeah.
No, that's it there. Anyway,
I'll do tableside peanut butter. It'll be at my wedding. That's what I'll do.
Also, Daniel Stern's hair is both short and mullety, which is a strange combo. We didn't.
It's bad.
The mullety aspect. Yeah. We get some screaming and stomping and some weirdness with the TV. So they come in the room to soothe over
Ben Savage.
Fred Savage. Ben Savage,
the young,
right? He's scared.
Young Savage.
Yes.
Just say young and old. Young and old Savage.
I'll get it right. And then Daniel Stern does some classic flashlight under the face. That classic gag.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me thinking: how old do you think that gag is?
I'm thinking it's gonna be like handheld light, like torches. I feel like were the earliest. Not like hanging around the campfire because like whatever.
Yeah.
But I think as soon as someone was holding holding a flame, I think that's when you probably started.
Like people were doing that with a candle, right?
Oh, 100%.
Putting it right in front of the chin, and then like somebody set their beard on fire by mistake trying to do this bit at some point.
Well, they were probably also doing Bloody Mary.
Yeah. I have like early memories of the first time I've held a flashlight, and it's like you do that gag right away.
Yeah.
And it's like, where do you learn that? How is that?
It's just intrinsic.
But it is. Yeah. They find the sandwich, and then there's like ice cream in the cabinet, like the whole carton.
Yeah, all melted and gooped.
Yeah. And Stern runs over his bike, which like it's okay to be mad at the kid for this. I think this
also,
is like
I'm sorry, it's a detached garage. You didn't. Yes. You had to walk from the house to the garage. You didn't see the bike was there.
Right. Like, how did you miss it? It seems impossible.
It's a bright red bike.
Yeah. And like, look, it's fine to be mad at the kid for leaving his bike there. It's a reasonable thing to be upset about. But the him missing it, I find incomprehensible.
And then saying you have to pay for my car now.
Yes,
buddy.
Yeah,
buddy.
Yeah. He's already got the punishment of not having a bike.
Girl. Like the whole wheel is off.
Yeah, it's destroyed. It's not a fixable issue. The wheels are bent, the frame is bent, and then we cut to the bus, and Fred Savage is yelling at Ben Savage and accusing him of being involved in the behind this, which it doesn't make any sense. Ben Savage very rightly was like, "I can't even reach the pedals. Why would I use your brake?" It's like the only good line he gets in the whole movie, because most of the time he's like one notch above "Goo Goo Gaga"
I swear they quaaluded that kid for the last act. We'll get there, but it looks like he was, he was injected with a little something.
He got the Mickey Rooney treatment.
Yeah, the Mickey and Judy special.
Judy Garland, that's the other person I couldn't think of. I was like, I know the woman is much more famous, but I can't remember her name right now. I got it in my head. I was like, is it Judy Garland or is it somehow
Shirley Temple?
That would have been even better. Yes, but I was actually thinking Vita Vita Vegemin. What's her face? And
Lucille Ball.
I was like, Lucille Ball is the total wrong age. That's not the answer.
Also, she would never put up with that.
Maybe when she was 6, she didn't have the wherewithal.
I guess it's 6, but I don't know when she started performing.
No, I have no idea. But anyway, so he says this to Ben Savage. He accuses him of doing this, and then he throws his fucking lunch out the window like a terrorist.
He does. He says, "You lie to me, you starve," and he whips it out the window.
Like, what a piece of shit.
And then Buzz McAllister gets on the bus.
Yes, he gets hit with the lunch out the window. There's like a kind of reaction.
Yeah.
Which is, there was like 3 genuine laughs in this movie, and that was one of them, where Buzz, he hucks us out the window and it just creams Buzz in the face.
But
or on a shirt, I guess.
I don't think I saw. No, he's on the bus and it lurches and he falls and it smears his shirt.
Oh, okay. I thought he got hit without the window.
Well, he does. That's a sort of a Shakespeare play moment. Like, you don't see it happen, but then he comes on wet and goopy.
So he falls down. He's got real gross hair. We do a time-lapse science project next.
Yeah, we get to school. The principal assaults Fred Savage, and then...
Yeah, that's right.
That didn't mean anything, because immediately he is out of there and hanging out with wannabe teen witch in the science room.
Yes.
Who, I have to say, does some of the worst fake locking acting I've ever seen. She literally puts the...
Fake locking?
Yeah, she puts the skeleton key in and just does a wiggle back and forth. Not a full turn.
Oh,
like,
sure.
The whole... You have to do a full...
to break the prop.
A full turn for the lock. Or just know what... Or she's 6 and has never used a skeleton key in her goddamn life. And she's like, oh, you wiggle it.
Say, the movie, not exactly a hotbed of good acting from any of these children.
No, not really. Frankly, not a hotbed of good acting from anyone. We can just say that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I would just like, Fred Savage, and Ben Savage, I feel like are leading the pack of bad, but the other kids are rough. I would.
That's why they're not in it much.
Yeah, that's true.
Little Savage wants to switch rooms because no one believes him that there's a monster.
Oh yeah. Also, I'm sorry, I forgot to say the guy who directed this only directed three things. It was this movie, an episode of Tales from the Crypt, and then a movie called The Process in 2003, like 13 years later that he got to do. But he's mostly a visual effects guy, and
that tracks.
He would design like main titles, but he did some work on Xanadu for visual effects, special effects.
I mean, those were great in that movie.
Yeah. Some stuff on Predator, some stuff on Goodfellas, uncredited.
I thought he directed Predator. Did he not?
No, he did not.
Oh.
And then visual effects consultant on Last Action Hero and previous episode long tangent, The Devil's Advocate. So I just
that fucking movie.
I had noted that. And
that one is bled into our texting life too.
Yeah, was that on the episode or not? That's a great question.
I can't remember, but I know we had a long text conversation about it.
We had a long conversation about The Devil's Advocate, and I also talked to Dad about The Devil's Advocate, which he did not remember.
Well, they weren't around. I feel like the dads, I don't know what they were doing, but they weren't around.
The dads would come in and out on the movies, because I do remember Dad and
other dad.
I'll just say Bob. Yeah, I'll just say Bob. It's fine. Coming into the room for a good portion of what I think was Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah, I think Gone in 60 Seconds was definitely one of those movies.
Yeah. Anyway, things that are more interesting to me than this movie.
Well, so what pisses me off about how bad this movie is that the writers of this movie also wrote Shrek, all of the Pirates of the Caribbean, which like they went real weird at the end. But like the first two were good.
Go for it.
Third one I enjoy, but whatever. And also Aladdin, which like what you just you trial ran a blue character, right. And we're like, well, we can do it better.
I will say, I think this is one of those things where I don't know at what stage of the process Howie Mandel becomes part of this, but the minute that Howie Mandel becomes part of this, it's the Howie Mandel show. And so like Aladdin is actually a great counter example to that, where it's like at a certain point during that movie's creation, it became the Robin Williams show. And the difference is...
So I don't necessarily think it was the Robin Williams show so much as it was like they stopped writing for the genie.
Yeah.
So like I don't think it was necessarily... This feels like the Howie Mandel show. I don't feel like Aladdin feels like the Robin Williams show so much as like they let him just do his thing.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I mean is like at a certain point, it's like, oh, we're just going to let Robin cook.
Yeah.
We're just going to let Howie cook. And like in 1989, Howie Mandel is an enormously popular.
Is he this style of like? Is he a Robin Williams-y wackadoo comedian?
He's the only thing I know of Howie Mandel
is his OCD
comedy. No, is that he used to put a doctor's glove over his head and blow it up with his nose.
Oh, I do remember that. I remember seeing that. And then I also he was Bobby in Bobby's World, right?
Yes, yeah. We watched a lot. At least I did a ton of Bobby's World.
I think so.
I loved that show.
And then didn't he also do Gizmo or no?
He's the voice of Gizmo, but that's all just like. That's
why I'm like, Bobby was talking, but he was in that same register.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is like. At some point during the making of this, it just was like, oh, we'll just let it be Howie Mandel doing Howie Mandel, which is like a terrible, like it, maybe in 1989 it was better, although Ebert certainly didn't think so.
No.
But in 2024, it is fucking excruciating. And I don't even want to dunk on Howie Mandel, who seems like a perfectly fine person.
Well, he doesn't like this movie.
It's because it's like, it sucks, and it sucks harder because it's just like the Howie, like let Howie do it.
It just doesn't make any sense. But
yeah.
What was I gonna say? Hang on. So it's sort of like, you know how we always say the reason Beetlejuice and Pirates of the Caribbean, we'll pull that example in, work so well is because Beetlejuice and Captain Jack Sparrow are in the movie for 20 minutes of screen time. 25.
Jack Sparrow probably more than Beetlejuice, but your point stands. I don't want to argue with it.
Well, maybe I should say Jack Sparrow's amount of lines Jack Sparrow has is probably like 25 minutes of the movie. A lot of the movie is, whatever. But yeah, you had the perfect amount of saffron in your dish, and so it was delicious. Yeah. And then it's like, well, you can't just dump a bottle of saffron in your dish.
Right.
You've ruined it now.
Well, right. It's like everybody likes things that have a little bit of spicy pepper. It's like you put a little bit of spicy pepper in your shrimp dish, everyone's a little happy.
Yeah.
You put a lot of spicy pepper in your dish, some people are happy.
You do a couple cracks of black pepper, you're like, ooh. If you do too much,
you put a big pinch of the red pepper flake in while you're sauteing your garlic so it gets a little heat in the oil. You cook the shrimp in, you're like, oh, these shrimp have a little bit of a kick. It's nice. You put a fistful in there and people are like, holy shit. What
you unscrew the top and dump it in and you ruined it.
Yeah. Yeah. And like this Howie Mandel is that.
They wanted this to be Beetlejuice so bad, I feel.
Oh, half the people involved from a visual effects standpoint were Beetlejuice people. Like they went to the Beetlejuice store and they loaded the cart.
And it's just like you failed at Beetlejuice on so many levels.
Right. And the other thing is like you could take the exact cast and crew of Beetlejuice and swap in like one different person. Like instead of Tim Burton, it's a different director. Instead of, the writer Beetlejuice, who's, I don't know who that is, but like you put a different person like to do the final rewrite or something like that.
Denise Denovi?
And it
no,
doesn't
that was
work.
producer.
But it's just like movies are such a lightning in a bottle endeavor generally, where it's like the right people at the right time at the right exact moments ended up with this amazing thing. And even like some of these movies, it's like if you started filming 8 days later, it would be a different movie.
Oh, for sure.
Like not every movie is like that, right? But some of these movies that are like Beetlejuice is sort of like a gossamer movie. Like you don't want to hold it too tight or you'll ruin it. You know, it's just like
The sequel makes me nervous. Like
there's just no chance. I will be there and I will see it. We will probably do a special episode of this podcast on it, I would guess, but there's just no chance in hell. It just seems impossible. I'd love to be wrong.
They need to keep it the same amount of Beetlejuice. Like don't give in to the TikTokification. Keep it the same level of Beetlejuice.
Yeah. It's like for me, it's like Tim Burton has definitely lost the fastball.
Oh
He
yeah.
does not have it anymore. And that's not to say that he's like useless, but it's just like he does not have the fastball anymore. It's, he's a junk ball pitcher now. He can get you some strikeouts and whatnot, but he is not throwing the speedball anymore. Michael Keaton has had too much of a Keatonizance where people are like, fill it with Keaton. And I like Keaton. I'm glad we're seeing Michael Keaton.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just, and then
Catherine O'Hara.
Well, she'll be fine. Like, Catherine O'Hara is not going to be in that movie enough to cause a problem, but I was going to say...
I don't know. I think... Because it's 3 generation of Dietz women, so I think she is.
Maybe. But my bigger concern is Winona, who I like a lot, is going to be asked to do all of this stuff that, like, just doesn't need to be doing. And then, of course, we're going to put way too much on...
Jenna Ortega. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like everyone's going to get asked to carry the ball, and there's just not going to be enough distribution of resources, and it's going to be a mess. That is my prediction. I'd love to be wrong. Nothing would make me happier than being wrong about this. Well, many things would make me happier, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not rooting for this movie to fail. I just expect it to.
Yeah. It's just because of the whole Broadway situation where that show blew up on the TikToks, and like that show is 95% Beetlejuice, which, like, that's not the point of the fucking movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I have very little interest in seeing that show. Everything I've read, it ruined the characters of Adam and Barbara. I don't like it.
It made a bunch of Z-list politicians so horny that they had a hand job in a theater.
Oh, I love it. But like, there's no way that the Beetlejuice on Broadway syndrome isn't going to bleed into this movie. It can't.
Yeah. Anyway, so the kids switch rooms. Back to minute 22 of this 3-hour movie we have to get through. This was a long, was it 95 or 98 minutes? It's under 100, I feel like.
It's at 100, I think.
And it's like, oh boy, you could have cut 20 here.
Oh, you could have cut more than 20.
So they switch rooms, and Fred scares his sibling.
Also, they're telling what's clearly supposed to be an urban legend, but I'm like,
yes,
no one has heard of this urban legend before. There are 800 classic urban legends that you could have told.
Just do the guy with the hook for a hand. Like, just do that.
Any of the 4 versions of that one. There's so many different ones.
Yeah.
I thought he was doing the either licked my hand or aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light? Because he was like, the girl didn't know when her roommate didn't want to wake up her roommate or whatever. And I was like, it's going to be, it's either humans lick hands too, or aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light? And they're like, no. Her roommate got her arms and legs chopped off and was climbing up the stairs using her chin. And I was like, no one in the history, the people who eat peanut butter and onion sandwiches are telling that story. That's a different timeline movie.
Yeah.
That's not a canon event. Get out of here.
Right. And just like the idea of that, like the person using their chin to drag their body up the stairs, it's like just kind of a silly image.
It is. It feels like it's something out of 13 Ghosts, the remake.
Oh, sure. So they're watching The Fly on television.
Well, The Fly, there's a television in the closet, which like, how did that get there?
It felt like they were trying to do like, oh, the kids are sneaking this and they're not supposed to be watching it. But it just made me be like, well, how did they sneak a television
upstairs?
Yeah. Is it like the AV? This family's TV is on like the AV cart and they just like down the hallway.
Doesn't make any sense.
Although, you know what I could see? I could see it being like all right, you're having a sleepover. We're going to put the TV from mom and dad's room in your room and you guys can watch it in there.
I guess, but it's not. It's in. But then they would put it in Fred Savage's room because that's where the little brother's sleeping. It's in Baby Savage's closet.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Doesn't Fred Savage have a TV? Isn't that like a thing that they talk about?
No, he was downstairs eating the sandwich late.
Got it. Okay.
Also, Fred Savage, for some reason, every insult he has is toad, and it's like, who says that?
I've never been called or called anyone a toad. It honestly feels like this is a situation where you like sit down the Savage brothers and you're like, all right, I need the things that you and your friends call each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then you write them all down and you throw out all the ones that are slurs. Because it's 1989 and that would be a third of the list at least.
Uh-huh.
And then you put it in there. So you get your butt breath. You get your whatever, penis breath like E.T.
Well, it's like, what movie? I feel like I don't know if it was Heathers or maybe it was Clueless, where like they just made up their own slang because they were like, we don't want it to sound dated, so we'll just make it up.
Yeah, that is also a way to go. Also, I work with a young guy who I'm pretty sure is gay, and he was talking about a movie. Shit, what the hell was it? Something I had just recently watched.
The test is to say little Latin boy in drag and let it sit. And if he goes, why are you crying?
I'll tell you what the test is. The test is I said, oh, it reminded me a lot of Heathers. And he was like, what's that?
Okay, not every. Because there are a small number.
I thought that was part of the manual.
It is, but there are some that skip that chapter.
When you're like, Mom and Dad, I'm gay, and there was like, poof, and the gay fairy came, and the gay fairy was like, here's the manual of things you need to understand and like.
Here's the zipper. Here's the zipper case of movies to watch.
Yeah, it's like a CD wallet.
Uh-huh.
Actually, now it's a thumb drive because no one has a disc drive.
Oh, of course.
The fairy has a necklace of thumb drives that are all like daisy chained together, and they just like thunk one off and hand it, and it's like one looks like a little rose, one they're just like all different weird thumb drives.
Yeah,
that's what I'm imagining. But it was some movie I had recommended to you. Bottoms is what it was.
Okay,
I think is very Heathersy, and he was just like, I don't know what you're talking about, and the other straight person in the room was like, oh, that makes me want to see it. And I was like, yeah, I don't love Heather, so I thought it was kind of to the detriment of the movie, but I mostly liked it. And we talked about it a little bit, but he was just like, whoosh.
You gotta drop some. I'll give you a list of other movies to just drop in conversation.
I feel reasonably certain that I am not incorrect about this gentleman. It's irrelevant that he's gay or not.
Of course not, but still.
I'm just saying, I was like, oh, here's me gonna score some ghoul points with a gay person, and I'm gonna drop a Heathers, and he's he's like 22, and
he might be too young. That could be it.
That's yeah. That's what I'm saying. I thought it was like the fairy arrives and is like, here's your thumb.
It generally is, but there are people that skip chapters.
And they're like, here's the complete Liza Minnelli. Why do you still like this? I don't know, but it's required.
Yeah. A Liza, a Judy, a Patty.
Yeah.
This movie's terrible, by the way. If you can't tell how much we're enjoying the non-movie conversations.
It's one of those situations where I was like, oh, this will be kind of like fun in a nostalgic way. And it's like, I haven't watched this movie in a zillion years. I will happily revisit this. And then it was like, there's like 4 moments in it that I liked. And then the rest of it, I was just like, and by liked, I mean, I remembered and I was like, oh, here's a part I remember.
You smiled briefly. You breathed out your nose harder than normal. And
the rest of it is just like, fuck, this is dreadful.
It's pointless because whatever. I'll just say it now. So like Monster World that we see later is basically like Pleasure Island meets the Lost Boy Island from Hook meets Master Shredder's domain. It's like everything a kid could want. It's got video games and junk food and McDonald's and no parents and all the toys you could want. But like, you're not supposed to bring kids there. So like, why is it a kid's paradise if you're not supposed to bring kids there? Also, the whole point of monsters in this movie is like, oh yeah, we steal things, we break things, we ruin your house, and you get blamed for it. And it's like, well, why the fuck would Fred Savage want to be here? The second I'm a Fred Savage, I get taken to Monster World. The second he's like, oh yeah, all that shit you get blamed for, we've been doing that. I'm snapping monsters' necks.
Right. And also just like...
You've been ruining my life. No, I don't want to be here.
Well, it's funny because immediately Fred Savage gets to like do the ruin the life stuff, and he just fucking loves it. He's like a little sociopath.
Yes.
He's just like, he's so into it. And then the thing that makes him like snap is they're scaring a baby, and it's like, well, dude, yeah, fine. Like you found the line in the sand for yourself, but like a minute ago you were destroying someone's room. Like you were rolling paint around.
Yes. And then we watch all these kids get blamed and like scream about how they're innocent.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like, what is the point?
Right. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Like because someone tried to be like, this movie is just Monsters, Inc. Like, no, Monsters, Inc. makes perfect fucking sense.
Right.
There's the
logic in the movie makes sense.
The science magic doors. They have to make kids scream in order to power their city.
Yep.
And that's it. That's why they go in. That's why they don't bring kids in, because it's like a whole thing. Like,
right. That person is not wrong in that, like, this movie does have some of the same ideas as Monsters, Inc. It just is bad. It is a worse version of that idea.
But it's like, I guess only in so much that, like, there is a monster world and they visit children by assignment. But, like, I'm going even more base than that. I'm just saying, like, the premise of this movie is, what if the monster under your bed was real? And that is also the premise of Monsters, Inc. Like, at the basis level, like, I see the overlap, but this movie is just infinitely worse. Because even later, Howie Mandel literally, like, the monsters are playing baseball, and the point of the game is to smash a bunch of, like, ceramic and glass and crystal items. And Fred Savage is like, well, where did this come from? And Howie Mandel literally goes... What did he say? We do the smashing, you get the thrashing. And it's like, again, why would he want this?
Right. Because he's a sociopath and he likes the tormenty stuff.
I guess, but like, it's weird.
Yeah, it's like the whole premise of it being like, oh, how fun is it to be a bad kid? And then he like changes his mind. But like the movie gets so all over the place because eventually it becomes like, oh, we have to get my brother back, and we're doing Labyrinth.
Because it turns out that the head monster wanted Fred Savage specifically, and it's like, well, why?
Right.
Like,
it doesn't. That's never.
Who is that head monster, and why was he wearing someone's face? Because that sure as fuck was never explained.
It's comedian Rick Ducommun, who we did on The Burbs, and is also the guy in Die Hard who doesn't want to cut the power, or wants to cut the power to Nakatomi Plaza.
Oh, it's a weird. Wait, that's the boy, or is that the big?
That's the big monster.
Oh, not the boy though.
Wait, which boy?
Boy is the one who is in charge of everything. They kept saying, boy gets this, boy gets what he wants. He's
the one who's like berating Howie Mandel.
That's Snick.
Okay.
Boy is the like one who was wearing someone else's face and wearing a. Oh. He looked like a reject from a local production of Cabaret.
Yeah.
And also was too old to be a boy.
Yeah.
And then his face, they like panned the back of his head, and he's got a like skin taker's laced up human flesh.
Right.
Like,
he looks like a Hellraiser creature.
And it is never once explained.
Yeah.
The hour and 40-minute runtime, you couldn't pop in and say, that's what this guy is? This is who he does?
Honestly, I just got the vibe of like, oh, he is scary. That's it. He's supposed to be scary to children.
I didn't like it. I hate this movie so much.
Well, let's get through a few more things because I did have bits. So we're watching The Fly. We rig up a bunch of traps.
I could be trapped with Doritos. I will say that much.
Okay, well, I need to talk about that. So momentarily. So first of all, we wolf down dinner as we chug a glass of milk, and there's like an awkward scene where Fred Savage has to chug milk on camera that I found really unpleasant to watch.
While Daniel Stern and the mom are drinking a little white zin, a little Pinot Gris.
Yeah, there's that chug noises happening, and I was just like, whoa.
No, thank you.
More traps. And then he sets a trail of Doritos. And what I couldn't get over watching this is there's so much less dust on old Doritos.
I thought so.
Like they had not yet figured out how to like crank up the MSG and make them genuinely addicting as a snack food.
So good.
So they're just this like so little dust up. Yeah.
Actually, Dorito heads up. They have I think it's called like tangy barbecue. It's like something barbecue Doritos. They are so damn good.
I gotta say, I'm like for Doritos, I only want the one thing that I like.
Oh wait, I only want classic or is it nacho? Spicy?
I'm nacho cheesier.
Nacho.
I don't like spicy. I don't like the spicy one. I don't
like spicy. I don't like Cool Ranch.
I don't mind Cool Ranch. My wife's a Cool Ranch supporter, and so sometimes we'll get a Cool Ranch. But lately, she's been saying like, no, you can just get the nacho cheese.
I was not a Cool Ranch, but I was I like to try new chip flavors. That's like my thing. I always get them, and I saw they had some kind of barbecue Dorito, and it was like a cross between like the tangy cheese and barbecue sauce, and it was very good.
What I want is single chips. I want a bag of Lay's that's like, here's all our bullshit, and inside is like 13 individually wrapped chips, and I can take one bite and be like, huh, that does taste like a cheeseburger, and that's it. Because whenever I have these novelty chips, I go, huh, that's interesting. That's real food science interesting. And then I'm done. Like at most I'm having 3 of these things.
See, I'm fine with getting a snack, the smaller bags, like a Wawa.
A snack bag is twice as many of them as I ever want.
I don't know. A lot of like the cheeseburger puffs, the cheeseburger cheese puffs that they put out a couple years ago.
Is that what are you talking about the ones I brought you back from Australia or different things?
No. These were an American thing. Okay. It was like game day favorite. So it was like cheese puffs flavored like cheeseburger. It was like spicy wings, chips, or a bunch of ones. But the cheeseburger cheese puffs were like genuinely delicious. So like a nice like Worcestershire sauce flavor.
Okay. Yeah, you got like a pork sandwich and like a cheesesteak. I think they were hers maybe. Mm-hmm. And both of them I thought were like really good, chemical science business of like, oh, that's what that tastes like. And then after eating 3 of them, I was like,
it was Long Hots and provolone.
That's what it was.
And then Whiz Wit, and then I think it's called 215 sauce or something that I've never heard of. It's like a bodega thing where people mix like salt and pepper and ketchup and hot sauce, like all the things you get in the bodega.
In DC, there's a similar thing that everyone loves called mumbo sauce, but then there's a bunch of like national products that have, like McDonald's did it recently, but it was called Mambo for copyright reasons. But yeah, it's like a similar bodega thing. I've never actually encountered it in DC, but it is like a thing.
But I love weird chip flavors.
Yeah, I my whole family does, and I'm just like, give me a cheddar sour cream chip. That's all I want.
That's a good one. Cheddar sour cream's good.
Flavored. Yeah.
Horseradish cheddar I like, but some batches are very
blow your mouth out.
Are too much. And I love I say that as someone who like all foods to me are a vehicle for cheese, peanut butter, horseradish, or I just said this at dinner the other night, or butter. So like to me, that's all foods are for.
I as someone who started eating shrimp because he learned he liked horseradish, I get it, but not quite as aggressively as you, I think, on the 4 categories.
No, but if think about it, all foods can be a vehicle for a couple things for everybody.
Yeah, no, I wasn't arguing with you. I mean, I think of food a little bit differently than that, but I do see where you're coming from.
Oh, speaking of weird chips, for 2 seconds, it was clearly not branded, but Bloomin' Onion and Bloomin' Sauce. And I guess I've only ever had Bloomin' Onions. I've never had the sauce. It's been a while since I've been to an Outback.
You've definitely had the sauce. It's like a piquant ranch.
No, it is disgusting. Bloomin' Sauce is foul. It's sour.
You had a bad batch then.
No, Bloomin' Sauce because I had these chips like these are disgusting, and then I looked online. Someone was talking about the Bloomin' Onion. They're like, the Bloomin' Sauce is gross and sour. And I was like, that's exactly what those chips tasted like. You want it to be like a smoky or a sweet, but it's like gross and sour.
This copycat recipe for it is horseradish. Come on, Jesus. Okay, can I make a mini rant
about all the ads?
fucking recipe sites are useless now. It's insane. There's a fucking animated ad in the corner that's just streaming hearts up that's like us on Instagram. Like, motherfucker, I can't read the page. What are you doing?
Oh, I took a screenshot recently of a web page on my phone where it was an article.
If I took a screenshot of this right now, my phone is horizontal. There is a 1 inch or 1 thumb width wide banner at the bottom, a 1 thumb width banner at the top, and now a ad across the middle, and I can't touch the page to scroll because it keeps fucking opening the ads. What the hell?
I was on a page where, I'm not kidding, my phone, iPhone 13 Pro, so it's not like a giant one. Yeah. If you take your thumb and bend the joint, the length from the tip of your thumb to that first joint was all I could read. Everything else on that page was ad. And I was like, oh, maybe sometimes like it's weird, like you scroll and it skips through. No, it was that. I was like, this is awful.
This says that this copycat sauce is mayo, sour cream, ketchup, horseradish, and some spices, which is what I would guess that it is.
That's what I'm expecting.
I think people are getting bad sour cream at the Outback when it's extra sour.
I don't know. Like it was like vinegar lime sour.
Yeah, that's not what Bloomin' sauce tastes like.
We'll have to see.
I have.
When is the last time you went to an Outback?
Well, I didn't have a Bloomin' Onion and an Outback, but I had last summer we went to a fair with my niece and my sister-in-law, and there was like a million fried food stands, and one had a Bloomin' Onion, and 3 people with us had never had one. I was like, well, let's get one. It's fun. And we got it, and it was the same sauce I remember. Like, it was the sense memory thing.
I don't know. Maybe the actual Bloomin' sauce is different.
What was funny about this was there's like a device that you use to like cut an onion in.
Oh yeah, it's wild looking.
Well, this one, they didn't remove the center, and so there was like a double golf ball sized blob of onion that had been battered and fried, but it was just like this huge thing, and I was like, what is this? And I was like, I gotta bite into this because it feels like the center of the onion, and maybe that'll be good. And when I bit into it, I'm not exaggerating when I say like a tablespoonful of oil bled out of
oh god, I would vomit.
And I just like spit it back on. Luckily, we had eaten the tray and we were going to the trash can, and I just like spit it back on the tray. But I'm telling you, like, the spit that came out of my mouth was like 80% oil and 20% saliva. And then I was just like, I gotta go buy a soda. I was like, I gotta get this.
Where's that fresh squeezed lemonade stand?
Yeah. I was like, I gotta have not water right now. Anyway, where the hell were we? Dorito Trail. Howie appears, and then as Stern arrives, Howie disappears. So we kind of learn a little bit of the lore for how these things work. He traps him in a trash can. And there's like kind of a fun bit where he's like partially reanimated with a trash can over his head.
When when monsters are hit with light, they shrink and disappear into just clothes, like they've been raptured.
Yes. Also, I was very confused by Daniel Stern coming into his son's room, seeing a random pile of men's clothes on the floor and not being at all concerned.
That's what I was like, dude, come on.
Yeah. Because it's like, your first instinct here needs to be like, my son is being abused by someone.
There is a naked man in this room because all of his clothes are on the floor.
He has like tricked my son into letting him into his room at best. At worst, it is like a real nightmare scenario of an intruder in here sexually assaulting him. Like, let me kick the closet door open and get ready to kick this naked man's ass.
Well, also on top of that, Fred Savage apparently is like the computer wore tennis shoes smart. Like,
right.
He took apart his bike and sawed the bed so that he could release the bike pump, and all of the legs of the bed would fold in and collapse the whole bed, which which is now incredibly dangerous for your little brother to sleep in.
Right. You have made the most dangerous bed possible. Also, I just want to point out, we've taken a break or two, so this time is inaccurate, but the current counter says 1 hour and 7 minutes, and I am like 22% of the way through my notes.
I'm I'm almost through my first page
We're going to do a 4-hour episode on the little monsters.
because we don't like this movie. We desperately want to talk about anything but this stupid movie.
So we get like this eyeball gag that's pretty gross, and then he makes the doorknob fall off, so Fred Savage is trapped.
Fred Savage loosened the doorknob.
Oh, that's right.
But it's like he shows up and it's like I truly don't know if the filmmakers wanted him to be scary or funny and like charming.
It honestly feels to me like Howie Mandel auditioned for Beetlejuice and didn't get it, and he's like, I'll show them. I'll give you a fucking Beetlejuice. Because Maurice seems to think he's Beetlejuice, where he's like gross but charming, a little bit of scary but charming. Like Maurice has 0% charm.
No, there's no Riz, as the kids say.
Yeah. And I think Howie Mandel has some charm. Like I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, but it's like I've seen a clip of America's Got Talent or whatever the hell the show is that he's on, and it's like he gets how to be a dumb person.
I will say my favorite Howie Mandel recent thing that I've seen him is in the show Superstore, which I highly endorse. I didn't get into it until recently. Very good.
Yeah, I watched like 2 seasons of that show. I thought it was quite funny.
It gets even better as it goes on. There's a great Terminator reference later, but there's a scene where they're doing a grand opening for the store after it was like, you know, they needed to rebuild it or whatever. And they're like, Howie Mandel is going to be here. And there's the joke is that there's a CEO of their store company whose name is Howie Mandel. And everyone's like, the CEO's coming? And like, no, the comedian. And everyone's like, oh. And then Howie Mandel, the comedian, shows up, and the assistant manager, who I love, this actress, Ash.
Like the mean one?
Yeah, she's kind of mean. He walks in and he goes, hi, and she goes, we're not open yet. And he's like, no, I'm here for the opening. And she's like, yeah, I know, we're not open. And he's like, no, corporate sent me. And she's like, oh, well then go grab a blue vest and start doing something. And like the whole time. And then later when she finds it, she's like, I don't really know celebrities, I'm sorry, but I am gonna need you to get back on register 3. Like it's so funny.
He gets hit with a flashlight, which makes him sprout horns, and then he just has horns for the rest of the movie, and the horns have earrings, which makes just zero fucking sense.
Oh, I didn't notice that the horns had earrings. He has a skeleton earring, but I didn't notice that the horns...
I thought the horns also had little dangly bits.
No, so what happened was, one of the horns definitely broke.
Yes, yeah, and they just like leave it that way.
They leave it dangling, so it's like a little wobble.
But I thought one had an earring in it.
He had a skeleton earring, like a long dangly skeleton earring, but like... Yeah, his eyes come out like the fucking Thing.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's scary. That's horrifying and creepy and gross. Like,
and also like at this point, the kid hasn't like learned that this monster does stuff, you know, to ruin his life. Although Fred Savage suspects that's true. At the point where you realize you can kill it, why wouldn't you just kill it?
Oh, 100%. Like I said, I'm snapping necks.
Right. Like he hits him with the flashlight, the horns sprout, he sees that he has this weakness, and then he's like smoking, like the light is like causing him to like emit smoke as if he's melting, and then he asks for help, and Fred Savage is like, okay, and then like shoves the clothes under the bed to help him, and I'm just like, fuck that.
Throw those clothes on the lawn. Like he's a shitty ex-boyfriend.
Right.
So I will say the design elements of this movie are cool. They don't belong in this movie, and they don't make sense, but they're really cool to look at. Yeah.
We cut to the next morning, and I was just so delighted with this scene where Daniel Stern is just chipping it up. He's just like shoving chips into his
being a real piece of shit. Like,
and the mom is actively painting the room around him, and he's like...
He's sitting on a plastic sheeting covered chair, eating Doritos at like 2 inches from the TV, while in the background, mom's being the mom from the Carousel of Progress.
Yeah. And we find out that the reason he's doing this 2 inches from the TV is because the kids lost the remote and he has to flip between 2 ball games he's watching.
And mom is like, she goes like, hey, have you seen a piece of sandpaper or a paintbrush the last couple of days?
Yeah. It's like, hey, how about you get up off your fucking ass and help me do this job, because we bought this shitty house because you wanted to.
And again, why did you want this house? It's 2 hours from your job.
Right. And also it's like, it's very clearly supposed to be a thing of like, they couldn't afford a house in the city. They wanted a house. So they moved to the burbs and they could afford this house, but it's a fixer upper and like it's causing some strain on the marriage. Like this movie wants to be doing a thing, I think, where the monsters are like a manifestation of the unhappy home life. I think that's what
wish it was that.
I think that's what they think they're doing by having these scenes with the parents, because there's a bunch of them, and all it does is just make the parents look miserable, the kids look ungrateful and shitty, and the monster stuff is bad. So it's just none of it connects together.
And like because monsters can't have light, Monster World by design cannot be bright and colorful, which is what is engaging and inviting to children, your target demographic for this fucking movie.
Everything either has a red filter or a blue filter on it, and so it all just looks strange. Like, it just looks unsettling and alien-like, I suppose.
But even then, like, he says, like, oh, you can't bring a flashlight in here, and then he's like, let's go to the arcade, which is flashing lights illuminated by Christmas tree lights, which, like, again, these are... what are the rules?
I think it's only white light that is damaging to them.
Well, he even says no matches, and then later is holding a flamethrower with no problem.
Right. I think the no matches is because the place is just made of balsa wood and it will all just go up.
We should be so lucky.
Also, the mom is the love interest from Secret of My Success, the Michael J. Fox movie we did a year or so ago.
Oh, right. She's, wait, hang on. Not step aunt.
No, I think she is the step aunt because she also is the owner of the team in Major League.
Then maybe she is step aunt. So she's not the romantic interest then.
Well, doesn't he have sex with her a bunch?
No, wait, does he?
I thought he has sex with the step aunt. I thought that was like part of.
I thought she was seducing him, and then he realizes who she is.
I thought he finds out that she is his step aunt after they fuck. Because
maybe
in the pool house, and then
I remember the pool house because then we realized step aunt is hilarious and porny.
Right. I think they have sex. Then he realizes who she is, and then the husband comes home, and he has to like jump out the window, and because his
actual uncle.
Yeah, and so he is like hiding because he just boned his step aunt, and then it turns out that he wants to have a relationship with his step.
I don't remember them having a relationship. I feel like he had someone his own age.
He bones the step aunt and then is afraid that boning the step aunt is going to prevent him from having the relationship that he actually wants to have.
Right. Okay, yes.
But he has sex with his step aunt. I would bet money on it. Anyway, she's also the owner in Major League, which stay tuned. We'll get there eventually. So Fred Savage makes like a light trap. Howie ate something. I'm trying to read my own handwriting and I'm failing. BATT. Batteries. Howie eats batteries.
I don't remember that.
And then he eats a booger, and it's like a real gross, like stringy slime.
They do a lot of slime stuff.
Yeah.
Which, like, again, it's for kids. Like, everything about this movie is like we made a kids movie, but it's like it was art directed by fucking Clive Barker.
Yes, 100%.
It's like, well, hang on, you can't do both.
Right. You touched on this, but like I will say the set design of the underworld and the creature designs I think are really cool. It just doesn't make any sense in this movie.
It does. It's Clive Barker. It looks like it's Nightbreed. Like if you showed me clips like, oh, this is Nightbreed, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah. There's also a bit where like they can't open the door and the secret to open the door is farting, and like he farts and then the door opens, which is just stupid.
Yeah, they paint themselves into a fucking corner. It's so dark and dreary and gross.
Also, they start playing pinball, and Howie's like really banging on the machine, and Fred Savage is like, "You're gonna make it tilt," and he's like, "There's no tilt down here," and it's like, tilt makes pinball more fun because it is like harder. It's like you wouldn't want to. It's very much a Twilight Zone thing to me. Of like, you wouldn't want to play video games if you had infinite ammo and infinite life. Like that is fun to play if you have played a video game before and had some success with it, and then you want to fuck around a little. But if you start from zero with no obstacles whatsoever, it's not fun.
Yeah, well, like, it's like I just really because I casually I played a lot of Fallout 4, like days worth of Fallout 4, and then was picking up casually here and there, just kind of like.
Did I tell you I got a PlayStation 5 last year and I bought Fallout 4 for it like a week ago when I watched the show and thought it was so good. I bought the.
You had played 4 though before, right?
Yeah. I played it many times. or sorry, played it many hours. I was like, should I buy? It was like $12 to get all of the expansions, and
I missed that sale, and I'm so mad about it.
And I was like, I never played the expansions. I think that'll be fun. So I download this thing, and it instantly crashes, not just the game, but the whole PlayStation when you boot it up. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Turns out one of these expansion things that you got just like had an unplayable glitch error. It's like, this game is fucking 10 years old. Why is this a thing?
How has that not been fixed?
So you had to uninstall it, deselect one of these add-ons, and then reinstall the game. But of course, I didn't know that until I spent 10 minutes on the internet, like 9 Reddit threads deep before I found the fucking solution. And it's just like, why does everything fucking suck?
Why is it for sale? But after the Fallout series, I was like, oh, I'll get back into Fallout. And I'm like doing way more involved shit with it. And I think we had talked about this I don't think it was on the pod, about like the carrying system where like you're carrying too much, you can't run. Even like I've maxed that out so like I can do some stuff. But then I realized that there's mods for Fallout 4 that are like sanctioned. Like the games, the developers are basically like, these could crash your system. Like these are, you can use them. We kind of like signed off on them sort of like being a thing, but there's nothing specific. Yeah. But the only mod I've ever played with is it's called the One Ring, and it adds 999 pounds to your carry ability.
Yeah, that would be my dream. I am such a fucking pack rat with.
It's called the One Ring in the mod section.
Okay.
It's really easy. And then you can like attach it to your power armor too. It's great. I don't have to deal with the nonsense anymore. I can pick up everything and then go to a place and drop it all off.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We have a feast that kind of reminds me of the scene in Hook a little bit, although this movie's before that. And then Howie's like, I'm going to take this cake to go. And he just like opens his coat, smashes a cake on his chest, and closes his coat. It's just stupid.
But like, again, in Hook, it's vibrant and colorful and neon whipped cream. This is a red filtered plate of McDonald's hamburgers, not even cheeseburgers, in the middle of a table in a red room. Like, it looks like where a German man lowers children to kill them.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's quite disgusting. We also get a speckle dissolve where it goes like paint splatters speckles all over the screen, which is a strange thing. There's a lot of odd dissolves happening here.
Also, while we're on that topic, what in the hell are the Jim Henson logo Tinkerbell squiggles flying around Monsterland?
No idea. It's very distracting.
They're constantly zipping around, swirling around people, swirling around structures and ladders.
I thought it was going to be like a thing where it's like, oh, these are like the little magical creatures, and like in Act 3 we have to harness them to get a victory, and like, no, they're just there and there's no explanation given for them at any point.
Or like they're kids who got stuck in Monsterland. Like literally anything would be great to tell me what these things are. You spent money animating these.
Right. It makes absolutely no sense.
And then Howie Mandel says, we're the reason kids get locked in their room. Like, again, what kid wants that?
Right. Well, and then they start. So, like, okay, well, let's just skip ahead a little bit because we're deep into this movie. So that he takes Fred Savage to like go wreak some havoc, and like they do some stuff that's like he makes a cat food sandwich for Buzz, which like is gross and bad, but like, I don't know, like it's not the end of the world, I suppose, that he gets revenge on his bully. But then there's another one where they leave a roller skate in the middle of the stairs, and it's like, I was waiting for the, like, we were talking about Austin Powers on a previous episode, and I watched it on a plane, and I had totally forgotten the bit in the movie where they cut to the families or friends of the henchmen who like get the news that they died, and it's devastating. And it's like, show me the cutback where this kid is at a funeral for his fucking mom who like got up groggy to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, slipped on a roller skate at the top of the stairs and fell down the stairs and broke her neck and died.
Yeah, show me like the death becomes her stair fall. Like, Jesus.
Yeah. Like, this is not like a harmless jape. This is going to kill a person.
He also pees in a bottle.
Yeah, he drinks Buzz's apple.
Drinks is a loose word for what he does. He like He basically wet t-shirt contests himself with the apple juice.
That's fair. But he fills it back up with piss. And so Buzz has a cat food sandwich and a bottle of piss. And it's just like way too aggro as revenge. And then it's even more nonsensical because in Act 3, Buzz joins the fucking squad of guys fighting the monsters. And it's like, hey, how about the time you made me drink piss? Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck you and your brother.
Right. I hope your brother gets trapped in the netherworld forever, and I hope you do too.
Stay down there.
The only way I could see Buzz getting added to the team is if Fred Savage is like, I'm going to turn into a monster and I will spend the rest of my life making yours worse. And then he just like forces him into
Fair. Which, again, I like that version.
Right.
It's basically, this movie is too, like, Stranger Things color corrected.
Yeah.
For what feels like they're trying to be like a fun romp.
Yeah. There's a can opener gag that I thought was funny. I think Harry
uses
uses his teeth.
Yeah, he like holds it up and it spins around.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. Look, I'm looking for things to be nice about.
I know. There's some giant, all of a sudden we have this giant mean muscle monster who's like got no neck. It's all shoulder to head.
Yeah.
He rips some kid's head off, but the kid is a monster, but he doesn't look like a monster. He looks like a regular kid.
Right. It makes no sense whatsoever. And then it's like, at a certain point, I thought it was going to be like, oh, we're going to learn that all of these monsters used to be kids. And maybe like part of the end of the movie is they get to turn back into kids, although the timeline of that is not going to work. And then just
we get a real off, like the worst version of Big.
Yeah. Well, it's like the other funny thing is like, Howie Mandel is like, I don't know, in his 40s, I guess. And it's like, is he going to like unmonster but be 40 and then basically have to like cause isn't that what happens at the end of Flight of the Navigator? The kid's like, Mom and Dad, I'm home, and then it's like the brother is 10 years older, right? Like, isn't that part of
Oh yes,
like a huge chunk of time has gone by and the kid has not aged, and so they have to like deal with that.
Yes it is.
Buzz drinks pee. You usually got to pay extra for that.
They play baseball. They threatened.
Then also during this montage, this fucking adult contemporary ass song kicks in, and it's like, that's the magic of the night, and it's just like the wrong vibe completely. It's like something you would hear on the adult contemporary station of like a bad radio station programmed by Clear Channel. It's just like, why is this it? Like, this is so clearly trying to be like the Cyndi Lauper interlude in Goonies or something like that, and just done the worst.
Or they're trying to do Lost Boys.
Yeah, but like
that soundtrack slaps.
But like, thou shalt not fall is creepy. Like, it's a creepy song played for a creepy moment of the movie. It works. This is nonsense.
Cry, little sister.
Yeah.
They threaten the no neck monster threatens to kill Fred Savage. He's like,
yes,
I could break. He literally is like, I'll break his neck or I'll drop him off the platform. Like no uncertain terms, threatening to kill a child.
Very specific threats. Also, this is the monster that's Rick Duchamon from The Bird.
Yeah, he's also the one that ripped the kid's head off earlier.
Yeah,
because he keeps talking about boy gets what he wants and blah blah blah. And then I don't remember if Howie Mandel actually says like boy is the leader of Monster World, because it's like, I have questions. If you tell me, why is he a boy? Is he like me?
Right.
Like, does a child have to rule over Monster World? Like, what the hell?
Right. That would be an interesting thing if they were like trying to trick Fred Savage into staying down there so that they could have a more benevolent leader.
Yeah, like a what's the thing. Princess Moonshine, Princess Moonstroke from the Neverending Story.
Oh, sure. I don't remember the character's name, but I know what you're talking about.
Moonchild? I think it's Moonchild.
You could say the right one, and it probably would not click for me. Also, we go to the Crush's house, and Howie says "nice ass," which is really disturbing.
Oh, I missed that. My brain must have been like, you don't want to hear this.
And then he like turns his hand into a dog puppet and has the dog eat her homework, but it's a printed out assignment. It's not like a handwritten essay.
Yeah.
And then like smash forward to the
School.
The school. Yeah, I want to come back because there's a crazy scene that happens in between. But the girl like takes the assignment out and it's like all ripped up and stuff. And she's like, oh, I guess my dog ate it. And the teacher's like, well, you're a fucking turd. And it's like,
you can see that's, I was like, you can read the assignment. Just be like,
right.
Look, I will do my best with this, or you can retype it because clearly you like, it's not like it's lorem ipsum.
Right. It's like you could look at this and see that a legitimate attempt was made. And it's like, okay, hey, it was due today. I have to take a letter grade off.
She has all the photos and the plant itself. Like, it's a big science project with a 6-page paper. She clearly did the project.
Right. And it's like, look, I have to give you a penalty because you're not turning it in today, but I can see that there's extenuating circumstances.
He gives her a 0.
Yeah, it's like you bring that in tomorrow. I have to take a full 10 points off. Like the highest grade you'll get is a B, but I can see that you did this, so just do it. Bring it tomorrow.
That teacher deserves a cat food sandwich and a piss drink.
Right. So backing up, we cut to like the parents in the house after this like Fred Savage adventure in the middle of the night, and they're having way too big of a fucking fight for a children's movie. Daniel Stern says, we don't even need a door we don't need a lock on our bedroom. We don't even need a door based on what happens in there. So it's like, what on earth? This is a children's movie. I don't need to know that the parents have a dead bedroom. What are we doing?
I've got a headache. And like, honestly, I don't even want the fucking divorce the over dramatic emotional divorce conversation.
Yeah.
In between Howie Mandel farting and pissing in a bottle.
Right.
You didn't read. No one read the script and went, "Hey, I think we got some uneven tones. I think we should do a little acid exfoliant and smooth out these tones."
Right. Like just cut the divorce stuff. Like, again, that's why I'm saying is like, I think the movie is supposed to be like the monsters manifesting as like the problems at home thing, because they're so aggressive about the parents having a bad relationship and that they need to have a divorce and do all this stuff. And it's just like awful. And then the scene where they talk to the kids about the divorce is really heartbreaking. Like Ben Savage is like, Dad, we'll be good. You don't have to leave. I'm so sorry.
It's like in fucking Big, when all of a sudden we were like, well, these emotions don't need to be here.
Yeah.
Who invited these emotions to the party? Mm-hmm. I didn't.
At least in Big, it's like a good movie that's competent, and it's like, yeah, the mom would be distraught. Like it's not insane.
Or him crying alone in his apartment. It got too real.
Sure.
That. I was like, this is too real. It's just like, your movie doesn't need this. Your movie needs a rewrite.
This movie needs a page 1 rewrite because it is a piece of shit.
I don't even think it's a page 1 rewrite. I think you can scavenge what's on here and put together a decent movie. Like, things that make sense. Like, everything in your movie should make sense for what you're trying to accomplish and convey.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you're trying to accomplish and convey, therefore you failed the assignment.
100%.
It's more of an incomplete, really.
Yeah. And also, it's like tonally all over the place. It's Howie Mandel is a weird choice for this character. It's all bad.
Or no, Howie Mandel can be this character, but then the whole movie needs to be bright and goofy and silly.
Yeah. This is the smash ball thing that we talked about already, which is now just the rage rooms that you can.
I skipped over that to talk because
there's the teacher, the work.
He threatens to kill the kid.
Yep. Okay. And then they have the divorce talk, which we just talked about. It's like a trial separation kind of thing.
And then this is where I
will say again, trying to say a few nice things about this movie. Ben Savage's performance in this moment of like, please don't get divorced, is actually quite good.
It's too real.
But I agree, it's wrong for the movie. It makes no sense, but it's good kid acting. You have to give him that.
I will. And then this is where Howie Mandel's like, hey, I'll come down to Monster World, cheer you up. And then they go to they're like, oh, there's a broken nightlight at this house. And then they go to the baby's house.
Yeah.
And the monsters won't, like, this is where Fred Savage is like, this is too much. And I was like, hey, baby doll, it was too much a while ago.
Yeah. He tries to get a light to save the baby, and then
he tries to open the door and his arm goes weird.
Yes, he gets damaged by the light, and it's just like, oh, you're turning into a monster now.
But also, how did he know where the fuck he was. Because the whole point of it's like Monstropolis, except rather than science magic doors that like turn on and off, they just have like rope ladders and staircases that lead to random places.
Yeah.
So he could be anywhere in the world when he runs out of this this house.
Yeah. It happens to be his town, but like it could it's shown later in the movie that they could be literally anywhere.
Which we'll get to how stupid that was.
Yeah. He's also shrinking.
Which I don't know why that's part of being a monster.
Right. And this is like kind of like a drug addict metaphor they're doing here, where like he likes the going into Monster World, but you know, obviously it has horrible, devastating effects on him.
He's also wearing the sunglasses like he's the older brother in the Lost Boys, and I'm like, stop trying to be. Yes. That's a good movie. You can't do that.
Yeah.
They did that movie already.
Yeah. So he cuts the post off the bed here now that like Howie Mandel can't get in, he can't get under there.
All the beds in the house get that taken off.
Yeah, and I remember this scene very much from being a kid. Like I remember him doing this.
Snick says, "I don't like you, Maurice," and I went, "We agree on that fact."
Part of this here to be a little Jack Black-esque. The business.
It's funny you say that because I thought that in the very beginning of the movie when he's watching like late night TV, the like late night TV host, I was like, that's a Jack Black type.
Oh, interesting. I did not catch that host at all.
It was just for like 5 seconds, but I was like, that's very Jack Black.
Yeah. So they snatch Ben Savage. We're fully doing Labyrinth now. And
because he cut all the legs off the beds, they unfurl the fold out mattress from the couch, and then that is their entry point, I guess.
Yeah. And it's just like, well, if they can do that, are there any rules?
Why can't they lift up the bed? Because they lifted up the bed before.
Right. So he rounds up the friends, he shows them the portal, and it's like none of these kids have the appropriate reaction, which is like, holy shit, this is real. Like that's incomprehensible. You know?
Well, the one kid does, the boy does, because he's like, you're a monster, you get away from me.
Yeah. But I just find this as incomprehensible as if like someone showed you incontrovertible proof that Santa Claus was real as an adult, and you would just be like completely incredulous, right? Like you couldn't even deal with it.
No. But also, like, it's established. They say that if you stay in Monster World after sunup, you're stuck there and you're a monster.
Yep.
So, like, why is he wasting fucking time rounding up the troops?
Right. And also, like, in addition to that, it's like clearly it's like you spend X time here, you turn into a monster. And so it's like, we needed a ticking clock of like Fred Savage can only be there for a little bit more. Hence he has to go round up the troops because he can't spend all this time on his own. Because
he gets his little brother's friend. He gets his little girlfriend. They go to his house where he tells them the plan. Then they go to the school to get the supplies. Then they make the weapons. And it's like, buddy. You have a time tick-tock talking.
Yeah, it's like it's only dark for like 10 hours. Like there's just not infinite time.
Depending on what time of year it is.
Yeah. So they make like these light bazookas, and then the girl's like, how come you always got F's in science if you know how to do all this stuff? And I was like, that's kind of a good
valid
question.
He also jerry-rigged the bed thing.
Yeah.
And he made that flashing alarm clock in the beginning so he could wake up late and watch TV while eating gross sandwiches.
Yeah. So we finally have a ticking clock in the movie, which is like we have to go down to the Monster World and get Ben Savage before sunup. And they like run through Monster World with their lights, and they're like blasting monsters who turn into like puffs of smoke, basically.
And clothes piles.
Yeah. There's just more of these random color gels. It's like, this room's blue, this room's red, this room's blue and red. You know, it's just like random just gel filters.
They climb the crazy stairs. And this is where we get Boy, who I'm like, that's a man. That's a man.
Yeah. I needed a moment where somebody was like wearing 3D glasses to explain the red and blue thing. Like I needed like the monster overseer, the man behind the curtain Wizard of Oz guy to be like up there with these 3D glasses on, and it's like, that's where the world is supposed to look. What do you mean? Like that's what I was looking for.
I wish. Again, he's too old to be called Boy, and he looks like a reject from Cabaret.
Yeah.
And then they show the back of his head with the laced up human flesh.
There's a Doctor Who villain who looks a lot like this. It's very disturbing.
Who?
The stretched face on the
Missed Me? That lady?
Yeah.
Moisturize me or whatever she says?
Yeah. She's just like a human face stretched on a...
She's had so much plastic surgery that she's been lifted clean off her body.
Yeah. They distract Fred Savage and then try to drill through his foot, which is just like a really fucked up thing in a kid's movie.
A teddy bear with a drill. Yeah. And then he... The guy is like, boy monster reveals his brother is on one of those like, I'm throwing knives boards. And Fred Savage
it's got a real Nicholson Joker energy this time.
Oh, for sure. But like Fred Savage doesn't grasp that he's like threatening to kill his brother.
Right.
He picks up a giant lawn dart with like a comical point on it. And this is where we said Ben Savage is like quaaluded up. Because he is half asleep for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And he like keeps throwing the darts at his brother, and he's like, stop it! Use your weapon. You brought the weapon. Use the weapon.
Yeah. Exactly.
But again, who is Boy? Why is Boy wearing a skin face? What's happening here?
Any explanation?
Why does he want Fred Savage?
Right. So we do a big light blast, and then... We've got
the toys from the movie Toys, starring fucking Robin Williams.
Literally what I wrote, or Small Soldiers, but mostly toys.
This movie makes no goddamn sense. They all get dropped into a stuffed animal pit, and Maurice is back. Yay!
Yeah. The Maurice going from like the scary monster to, hey, Fred Savage, like, let's have some fun, to you're sad, I'll cheer you up, to like tearful goodbye at the end of this. I'm sorry, incomprehensible.
The first 2 acts of this movie, he was a sleeper agent whose job was to trick Fred Savage into becoming a monster and getting stuck in Monster World.
Yeah.
That is very clearly laid out. So, like, that never gets addressed.
No, it doesn't at all.
So, is this real science, you think? How she uses 2 pencils and a phone to make...
I think you probably have some like thing that's analogous to this. Is it exactly this? I doubt.
Not exactly, but I was like, I wonder what the science looks like on that one.
I believe graphite in pencils is a electric conductor.
Oh. So they zap Maurice to close, shove him under the door so he can let them out. Yeah. Then they leave Monster World, go back to the school to get more supplies, and then go back to Monster World from the cot in the nurse's office. And I was like, you have changed locations too many times.
Yes.
I'm cutting you off.
The day is the night is just not this long. Like,
it's not.
Watch any vampire movie.
And then
by the way, I verified graphite does conduct electricity.
Okay. And then it turns out they made shitty Starlight Express cosplay without the roller skates.
Yes.
And got the bully to show up to help for some reason.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever that Buzz joins the crew, and they don't explain it at all.
No, well, there's like one shot of Howie Mandel like creeping up in his sleeping bed, but like they show the 4 kids in the like bad guy, the boys' tower, and then they show what looks like a 5th kid carrying a flamethrower, and I was like, well, what fucking kid? There's no other kids that we've seen in this movie. Who is this?
Yeah.
And then it's Howie Mandel at the end. I'm like, well, you can't be around bright light, dude.
Right. It should be a thing where like a kid
he sacrifices himself.
Yeah, like a kid gets knocked down, Howie picks it up, and they're like, "No, you can't be in the light." He's like, "You guys got to get out of here!" And he like blasts the bad guy.
Yes,
he dies too. That
so much better.
If that leads to Fred Savage picking up the coat and being like, "I'll never forget you, Maurice," and taking the coat out, it would be like a nice little moment instead of this stupid ending of this movie.
I hated this. I was like, just end.
Yeah. Although I did like the bad guy literally exploding.
I did. That was fine.
End of Jaws style.
Exploding and then his clothes folding neatly into a pile.
Yeah. But then they start doing like a T-1000. Like they start jittering like they're going to slurp back together.
This movie did not need these multiple endings. Because so the kids succeed. They finally get sleepy Ben Savage out. And now all the monsters in Monster World that they had previously zapped, like they've hurt them. Now the monsters are all cheering them on as they run.
Well, it seems like the monsters hate their leader. But
there's a lot of y'all.
The leader's not dead. Like the monsters need to be like, we'll prevent them from getting back together. You guys go. You know, like there needs to be something because like.
But also, guys, revolt. There's a lot of you.
Well, like the fridge horror of it is like there's this tearful goodbye and they get out, and then it's like, well, wait, the bad guy is just gonna reconstitute and then subjugate all these people again.
Well, I think because he set him on fire, he was not coming back. I think.
Well, he was slurping together. I thought weren't the
no, he slurped back together and then got fired.
Oh, okay, all right.
But like, this movie did not need running across the world,
right?
Because it ends with them in California and they have to call their parents in Boston and say, "We're in Malibu."
Yeah, like where's Malibu? Malibu, California.
You can't cut off the movie there because now you need the scene where they go, well, how did you get to Malibu?
Right. And then it's like they're going to tell them about this monster story and they're going to be like, all of you are full of shit. You've been kidnapped. Like there's going to be like a
You're all repressing things. You've all had traumatic experiences from the naked men in your room.
Yeah, it's going to be like a satanic panic thing. Like some poor person in town is going to get strung up for this.
Yeah, the Eddie Munson of Boston is going to get lynched.
I was going to say Boo Radley, but yeah. Like,
that too.
Like whatever weirdo loner outcast there is in this town is going to get murdered because they're going to assume it was him.
But like if you hadn't done that part, like if you would just show them running into the ocean and be like, whatever, that's dumb. But
yeah,
because you're showing them talking to their parents, now you need to finish that. You need to finish that loop.
Yeah.
But
and
just
also,
cut that part. You didn't need to run. Like, save 5 minutes of your runtime.
Right. Just have them get out. Like, and it's like, we just made it. You know, like, Fred Savage, like, gets in just as the light, you know what I mean? It's
it's the end of Hocus Pocus.
Moment. Yeah. Yeah. It would be, like, so much better. Or, like, even dumber but simpler is, like, they get to Fred Savage's bed and they can't get out of it, and then they like the one girl, like one of these characters is like, my room has trees all over it doesn't get bright as early as this one, and like that's
there you go.
You know, it's just like, you know, they or like, oh, I have a sleeping bag in my treehouse and there's only one window and it's got something in front of it. And
I have blackout curtains. I don't know. Come on.
It's but like basically that's what I'm advocating for. But just like
we have a bed in our basement.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. And or just any of that. It's like, you know, what about my sleeping bag? It's in our storage room.
Instead, they've got a really tasteless, unhoused person joke on the beach in Malibu, and it's like
they lift the guy up.
They lift a person.
Yeah, and get out from under him.
It's awful.
And then it's like the first 4 kids go up, or 5. I don't know how many there are. I'm not going to count. It's fine. And then it's Fred Savage having this like tearful goodbye with Maurice. And then Buzz is like, I'm not running to Hawaii. Get up here. And I was like,
you don't have to run to Hawaii, motherfucker. He does.
I was like, you do not need to do any more risk taking on behalf of this person. If he fucks this up and has to go to Hawaii, that's his own problem. You kids are out. Don't go back in there for anything.
Yeah. Well, he goes, what does he say? He goes, you were the best friend I ever had. No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
He ruined your life.
Excuse me. Objection. False.
I hated this so much.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. It's a terrible.
Because it takes so long for him to finally leave. They like hem and haw, and you're not the Wizard of Oz. You haven't earned that.
Right.
No one likes you, Maurice.
Right. And then they have the gall to end this movie with a Talking Heads song, which I just found
I didn't. As soon as credits, I was like, close. We're done.
Well, I like this song a lot, and I was just like, wait, what are you doing here? Oh, and then the like joyous run, it's like the phone call of the parents, and then the end of the movie is the kids being like, yay, we did it.
No, they do that first. That's why this the pacing is terrible. They run into the water cheering, and then they call the parents.
Yeah, you're right. I thought I had my notes. I read my notes out of order, but just what
to quote Zoidberg, your movie's bad and you should feel bad.
Yeah. And you know what the real worst part of it is? My algorithm is so fucked by watching this on Peacock now. I have like 10 children's movies suggested to me that are just like dreadful nightmare, cheap Disney knockoff type situations. It's really unfortunate.
Do you remember any titles? Now I'm curious.
No. It's just like you can tell by the thumbnail that it's like sub Disney Channel type shit.
Gotcha.
Yeah, really awful. This movie stinks. It's really bad. There's almost
Don't do it. Don't bother.
Yeah. This is a wretched endeavor. I really hope Drop Dead Fred is more entertaining because I thought this would be kind of a fun month, and if it's as bad as this, I regret everything.
Absent Mo is looking better and better.
It was, like I said, it's like, you revisit the ones from your childhood and you're usually like, well, this is bad, but here's a couple of fun parts of it. Or like, it was fun. I remember like watching this. I unlocked this memory of watching this when I was 8 and this funny thing that I did or whatever. There was none of that here. It's just, I remember them sawing the bed.
You remember one scene?
Yeah, it was like one sequence that I remembered.
Like even Kid Save the Video is more enjoyable than this.
100%. Kid Save the Video is like thoroughly weird and the kind of thing that we enjoy watching because it's just kind of like incomprehensible. Honestly, it's like we did that Patreon commentary for the Golden Girls at Walt Disney World because I watched like 20 minutes of it and I was like, this is too fucking weird. Like, it's so strange. We're going to delight in watching this. And it's like it just changes every 5 minutes is a new segment of something bizarre and weird of like, here's fucking, what's his nuts? The NRA guy.
Oh, Charlton Heston.
It's like here's a 10-minute sequence of Charlton Heston reading the Constitution in front of a group of choir singers, like not in front of, superimposed in front of.
Yes,
he was never there, and he's he was just reading the Constitution out, and it's just like, what is happening in this? The fucking bicentennial is wild.
They need to pad the runtime.
Yeah. So, it has like the often with these things, there's some of that going for it, but I just found none of that here. And it's like, the fact that it's Howie Mandel and then also Rick Duchamp, who I think was also a stand-up. I might be completely wrong about that.
Oh, yes. And he was I remember reading, he was in Blank Check. He was the chauffeur.
Yes. Yeah.
Another weird children's movie.
A super rich children's movie, but like that movie also, you can see the same kind of thing of just like, oh, just throw a comedian and let him cook, because like there's a scene in Blank Check. I don't remember much of that movie, but I remember him explaining two birds with one stone to the kid, and he's like, doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's hard enough to kill one bird with one stone unless you get a big boulder and two baby birds. You're just like,
my brain confuses scenes from Heavyweights, Blank Check, and First Kid.
Sure.
Because I'm like,
what
adult figure was explaining something weird to a child in what movie?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we watched all three of those movies quite a bit.
Was it because one of them? I think it might be Blank Check, where talks about like lining your pockets with plastic so you could at a buffet you can put food in. It doesn't say all you can eat here.
I think that is Blank Check. I'm almost positive that's Blank Check. It also seems a lot like Vegas Vacation, but that
or it could be First Kid.
No, I'm almost. Is it Sinbad that says that joke? Now I'm dying to know now, because as soon as you said Sinbad, it's like,
it could be Sinbad.
Right, that feels like a Sinbad delivery. I'm my guess.
Oh, you know what? I'm picturing a white guy saying it, so maybe it is Blank Check.
That was my instinct. I'm Googling. It doesn't say all you can eat here. We'll find out. People are riveted at home, I'm sure, driving to work, listening to us talk about this bullshit.
They're just glad we're not talking about this movie anymore.
Well, we did survive. That line does not pick up any of the three movies. I'm going to add Blank Check and see what happens. Again, riveting audio. I'm sure all of you driving to work are like just delighted. All right, it pulled up a clip. The first result is a clip from Blank Check that says perfect date. And it feels like you could have the... No, okay, Reddit, someone says, it says all you can eat, but not all you can eat here. So that's definitely
perfect.
Blank Check. Well done. Problem solved. Mystery solved. Riveting audio. Our next episode is going to be on Drop Dead Fred. Review the fucking show if you haven't reviewed the show. We haven't got one of them in like a year, so please do that if you're listening. There's like hundreds of you out there. I know there could be more reviews. If you review it anywhere but the Apple Podcasts app, you'll have to email it to us. Tell two friends about the show if you like the show. We love that you do that. We do very well overseas. Like, we're frequently in the top 200 in countries like Norway and Germany and places outside the United States. So if you listen to the show overseas, please say hello. Like, it would be so lovely to know where you are and we're listening from. So we're on Facebook, Dissecting the 80s. We're at Dissect the 80s on Twitter or X. And most importantly, where the hell should we be? Because I don't know jack shit about social media. So if you think we should be somewhere else, Blue Sky or whatever, just let us know. We're trying to be better about that. We'd like to grow the show.
Threads is the other one.
Yeah, whatever it is, just tell us where to go, okay? Your old man host needs help, so take pity on him. Thank you so very much for listening to the show. Don't forget to visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. 25 bonus episodes. You get all of them instantly. You get all the back content instantly. You can go look at all the old posts. We do a monthly newsletter called the Bag of Soup Sentinel, where we tell you about some stuff we're watching. Recently redesigned that. It looks a lot nicer. When we also give you a little bit more heads up about what's coming down the pike. So if you like to keep up and watch the episodes, that's a good way to do that. Thank you very much for listening. Sorry for the bizarre episode that this turned out to be, but hopefully you were entertained by it. I have been Trip Leno.
I will always be Andrew Leno.
Until our next dalliance with imaginary friends.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.